Warning: every story hides a chilling twist that will leave you questioning reality. Whether fact or fiction, secrets unravel, mysteries deepen, and nothing is as it seems. Stay until the very last second to uncover the truth.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Amityville Haunting, a tale of terror. On a crisp November night in 1974, the once peaceful home at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, became a scene of unimaginable horror. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son of the DeFeo family, claimed he was driven by mysterious voices that urged him to murder his entire family. Armed with a rifle, he coldly executed his parents and four siblings while they slept, leaving behind a macabre mystery. Yet, this was only the beginning of the nightmare. The house stood eerily silent for over a year until December 1975, when George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, moved into the beautiful Dutch colonial home for $80,000. It seemed too good to be true. A spacious property with a boathouse and a serene view of the river. But the family soon learned the real cost of living there. From the moment they set foot inside, a suffocating sense of unease hung in the air. The children complained of feeling watched, and the family dog refused to enter certain parts of the house. On their first night, George felt an unnatural chill that no amount of heat could dispel. He would later say it felt like the house itself was alive, pulsating with something dark and malignant. The descent into madness. As days turned into weeks, the house began revealing its sinister secrets. George started waking up at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, the precise time Ronald DeFeo had carried out the murders. He became obsessed with the home's history, spiraling into paranoia and isolation. Meanwhile, Kathy experienced disturbing dreams of the DeFeo murders, waking up drenched in sweat and with scratches inexplicably etched into her skin. One night, their youngest daughter, Missy, spoke of a friend she had made an entity she called Jody. Missy described Jody as a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes who often appeared outside her window or in the shadows of her room. She says she lives here, Missy whispered one evening, her voice trembling. She doesn't want us to leave. Things escalated quickly. Doors slammed shut without warning. Strange odors of decay filled the rooms, and green slime oozed from the walls. George began to see shadowy figures lurking in the corners, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. One particularly terrifying night, Kathy woke to find George standing over her with a blank expression, clutching a large axe. He claimed he didn't remember how he got there. The breaking point: the house seemed to manipulate each family member in different ways. George grew more aggressive, while Kathy became consumed by despair. The children were plagued by nightmares and terrifying visions. One evening, as the family gathered in the living room, the air turned icy and an overwhelming sense of dread consumed them. Suddenly, the front door burst open with a deafening bang. Though there was no one outside, the final straw came when George awoke to the sound of Missy's screams. Rushing to her room, he found her staring out the window at Jody, her red eyes glowing in the darkness. Missy turned to George and whispered, "Jody says we're all going to die here." Panicked, the family decided they could no longer stay. In the dead of night, they grabbed what little they could and fled the house, leaving behind their furniture, belongings, and the life they had tried to build. They never returned. Aftermath. Though the Lutz family swore their story was true, skeptics questioned their account. Paranormal investigators who visited the house claimed to experience strange phenomena, and a famous photo taken during an investigation appeared to show the ghostly face of a young boy peeking through the banisters. The house's subsequent owners reported no paranormal activity, leaving many to wonder if the Lutzes were victims of their own imaginations, or something far darker. To this day, the legend of the Amityville house continues to haunt those who hear its story. Was it the residual energy of the gruesome murders, the manifestation of something evil, or simply a tragic case of mass hysteria? No one can say for sure, but one thing is certain: some houses remember, and some scars never fade. The Amityville Horror, a chilling tale of true terror. In the quaint suburban town of Amityville, New York, nestled along Ocean Avenue, stood a picturesque Dutch colonial house. Its stately exterior and spacious interior seemed perfect for the DeFeo family, who moved in during the 1960s. But the facade of perfection would soon crack, revealing a darkness that would echo for decades. On November 13, 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son, unleashed unspeakable horror. In the dead of night, armed with a .35 caliber rifle, he methodically murdered his parents and 4 siblings as they slept in their beds. His only explanation: the voices told me to do it. The house became a crime scene, stained by tragedy and whispers of something far more sinister. The property lay dormant for over a year until December 1975, when George and Kathy Lutz purchased the house at a bargain price. For $80,000, they gained a dream home, or so they thought. But the dream quickly turned into a nightmare, a family's descent into darkness. From the moment the Lutz family moved in, strange events began to unfold. On their first night, George noticed an unrelenting chill in the air despite the roaring fire in the hearth. "This house is cold," he muttered, shivering as if something unseen was pressing against his skin. Kathy, unpacking boxes, felt a sudden, suffocating pressure on her chest. She dismissed it as stress, but the feeling never quite left. Her children complained of seeing shadows darting across the walls and hearing faint whispers in the night. The family dog, Harry, whined incessantly, refusing to go near the boathouse at the edge of the property. Then came the clocks. Every night, George awoke at exactly 3:15 a.m., the time investigators determined the DeFeo murders had occurred. At first, he thought it was coincidence, but soon it became an obsession. Night after night, he would rise, drenched in sweat, his pulse racing, as if something was calling to him. One evening, their daughter Missy introduced them to her new friend, Jody. "Jody says she lives here," the young girl said with unnerving conviction. Jody, she claimed, was a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes who appeared outside her window at night. The events escalated. Unseen forces slammed doors shut. Foul smells of decay permeated the air, and green slime oozed from the walls. Crosses hung on the walls would turn upside down. George became increasingly irritable and withdrawn, spending hours chopping firewood as if trying to fend off an invisible chill. The breaking point: on one particularly harrowing night, Kathy woke to a scream that shook the house. Rushing to her daughter's room, she found Missy staring out the window, her eyes wide with terror. "Jody's angry," she whispered. Outside, in the shadows of the yard, Kathy swore she saw the glowing red eyes staring back at her. The final straw came when George found himself standing over Kathy with an axe, his hands trembling as if controlled by something beyond his will. He didn't remember how he got there, but Kathy's terrified expression said enough. The family fled the house in the middle of the night, leaving behind their belongings, determined never to return. They later claimed that the evil presence in the house was overwhelming, that it had seeped into their minds, their dreams, their very souls. The legacy of 112 Ocean Avenue. The Lutz family's story captivated the world. Paranormal investigators swarmed the property, capturing chilling evidence, including a photograph of a ghostly boy peering from the staircase. The house's next owners reported no activity, sparking debates over the authenticity of the Lutz's claims. Were they victims of an elaborate hoax, Or did they truly encounter something otherworldly? To this day, the Amityville house remains one of the most infamous haunted locations in the world, a chilling reminder that some tragedies leave scars far deeper than the physical. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, one question lingers. What truly happened at 112 Ocean Avenue? The Riverwood Blood Mystery, a haunting unsolved tale. It was a chilly, overcast morning in Sydney's southwest when teachers at Riverwood Primary School returned from a long holiday break. The mood was calm, the air filled with the anticipation of students soon filling the halls again. The school playground, with its swings swaying gently in the breeze, and the small cubby house nestled in the corner, seemed to await the return of children's laughter. But something sinister had happened in their absence, something that would shake the school and the community to its core. As the teachers passed the cubby house that morning, they stopped abruptly. From the outside, everything seemed normal, but a strong metallic smell hung heavy in the air, one they couldn't quite place at first. Pushing open the small door, they froze in disbelief. There, pulled across the wooden floorboards, was a vast, dark-stained blood. It wasn't a small amount either. The teachers later described it as enough to drain a life. The scene was immediately cordoned off, and police were called in to investigate. Forensics determined the blood was human and male, but the questions began stacking up faster than answers. How had so much blood appeared in such a confined space? Where was the person it belonged to? And most disturbingly, why were there no trails, no splatters, no signs of violence anywhere around the cubby house? The investigation begins. Detectives meticulously examined the area. The cubby house was surrounded by a tall, barbed wire fence, and there were no signs of forced entry or tampering. No footprints led to or from the scene. The blood itself was contained entirely within the cubby, almost as if it had materialized out of thin air. Investigators expanded their search to nearby streets, hospitals, and missing person reports, but they found nothing. No injured individual, no recent hospital admissions, and no evidence that the blood had been transported from elsewhere. The case baffled authorities. A liter of blood is not something a person can lose without severe consequences or death. Yet no one in the vicinity reported seeing or hearing anything unusual. Surveillance footage from nearby streets offered no clues, showing nothing but the eerie emptiness of the playground at night. Then came the strange stories from the locals. People living near the school began to report unexplained phenomena in the nights following the discovery. Some claimed to hear faint footsteps crunching through the gravel of the playground, despite no one being visible. Others described waking to the sound of low, guttural whispers near their window, or seeing fleeting shadows dart past their backyards. One resident, an elderly woman living across from the school, swore she saw a figure standing motionless near the cubby house one evening. She turned away for a moment, and when she looked back, it was gone. A history of darkness. As the story spread, rumors began to surface about the school's history. Locals whispered about strange events that had taken place over the years. Decades ago, before the school was built, the land had been a campsite for a group of drifters. According to an old tale, one of the drifters, a man known only as William, had been found dead under mysterious circumstances. His body discovered lying in what some described as a bloody circle. The story was dismissed as folklore, but many began to wonder if the land itself carried a dark energy. Some theorized that the blood in the cubby house was linked to William's restless spirit. Could he be trying to send a message? Others suggested a more sinister explanation, a ritual, perhaps. Occult symbols had been found in similar cases elsewhere, but here, there was nothing. No candles, no markings, no items to suggest human interference. The site remained disturbingly clean, save for the blood. A community gripped by fear. For weeks after the discovery, the school became a ghost town. Parents, unnerved by the news, began withdrawing their children. Teachers refused to go near the Cubby house, and the once bustling playground became eerily silent. Local newspapers speculated wildly, suggesting everything from a botched crime scene cleanup to paranormal activity. Ghost hunters and thrill seekers began showing up at night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the unexplained. As the investigation stalled, the police were forced to close the case due to a lack of evidence. The Cubby house was eventually demolished, but the questions remained. What had happened that night? Why was there no victim, no suspect, no trail to follow? And what was the source of the blood? Years later, the site still carries an air of unease. Passersby report an inexplicable chill near where the Cubby once stood. On particularly quiet nights, some claim they can hear faint footsteps echoing across the empty playground, as though something or someone is still lingering, waiting to be discovered. Unanswered questions. The Riverwood blood mystery remains one of the most chilling unsolved cases in modern history. Was it the work of a sadistic individual, orchestrated to terrify? Or was it something far beyond human comprehension? With no evidence, no witnesses, and no victim, we may never know the truth. But one thing is certain, the story of the pool of blood will continue to haunt those who dare to seek answers. The Ghost of Room 3327, a tale of heartbreak and haunting. Thanksgiving Day, 1892, a young woman named Kate Morgan arrived at the prestigious Hotel del Coronado, an opulent seaside resort in Southern California. With her porcelain complexion and an aura of quiet sophistication, she drew little suspicion, though her sorrowful demeanor hinted at turmoil beneath the surface. Kate checked into room 302, now renumbered as 3327, under the guise of waiting for her lover, a man she claimed would arrive shortly. As the days passed, no one came. Hotel staff noticed her melancholy deepening. She wandered the pristine grounds, her gaze distant, her interactions clipped. Rumors swirled that she spent an afternoon in a nearby town, purchasing a handgun, a detail that would later cast an ominous shadow over her story. On the fifth evening of her stay, Kate was found dead on the hotel steps, a gunshot wound to her head, though it was quickly ruled a suicide. Whispers of foul play spread among the hotel's patrons. Some speculated her gentleman caller had abandoned her, leaving her desolate. Others suggested darker motives, questioning the absence of identification papers and the mysterious pregnancy Kate was allegedly carrying. Despite her tragic end, Kate's story did not fade into obscurity. It clung to the walls of the Hotel del Coronado like an unwelcome memory. Guests began reporting strange occurrences, flickering lights, sudden drafts of icy air, and items moving on their own. In room 3327, many claimed to hear soft whispers or footsteps in the dead of night. Doors creaked open and shut as though unseen hands guided them. The phenomenon extended beyond the room. In the hotel gift shop, items reportedly leapt off shelves, always landing upright as if guided by an unseen force. Staff dismissed these incidents at first, chalking them up to faulty wiring or mischievous guests, but the tales only grew, compelling paranormal investigators to probe deeper. In one notable investigation, a team equipped with infrared cameras, motion detectors, and sound recorders stayed in Kate's room. What they captured defied explanation, a shadowy figure lingering by the window, the faint scent of lavender rumored to be Kate's favorite, and an eerie, unshakable feeling of being watched. The footage showed objects moving, unaided furniture shifting ever so slightly, a chair rocking on its own, and even the unmistakable sound of soft crying. The activity wasn't confined to room 3327, guests. In room 3519, a former maid's quarters, also reported strange happenings. It was there that Kate's apparition was said to have appeared most frequently. Standing by the window and gazing mournfully out to sea, some guests awoke to the sensation of a cold hand brushing against their cheek or the sound of faint knocking on the walls. Over the years, skeptics have dismissed the tales as elaborate pranks or the product of overactive imaginations. Yet, those who have stayed at the Hotel del Coronado often leave with stories of their own, convinced they've encountered the spirit of Kate Morgan. The legend endures, drawing ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and curious tourists alike, all hoping to glimpse the beautiful stranger. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Hotel del Coronado remains a place where the line between the living and the dead feels tenuous, a testament to the enduring power of love, loss, and the mysteries that linger long after we are gone.